Well, hello everybody. It is me. Who else would it be? Me. I don't know why I said that. But it is me. But my name is Misty Dawn, and some people call me Misty. Most people call me Misty. Other people, Misty Dawn. You've reached. It's all about me. Damn it, vlog. And today is Sunday, and I'm trying to remember what day, but it's the day before President's Day, so that's. I'm trying to remember. What is that? The 21st? No. 20. I think because my mom's birth. Well, anyway, it's the day before President's Day, and I know some people have it off, some people don't. I never did. The schools have it off, so my granddaughter will be around tomorrow afternoon. She's spending some of it with her father. I wanted to. It's been, gosh, how many vlogs? I kind of went back and looked to see, how many were being viewed and how much. And it's interesting the ones that people are gravitate towards. Of course, if you just watch one without any of the others, you really have no context. So I'm not quite sure, but so maybe it makes more sense that I introduce myself and what the purpose of this is at the very beginning of each one. It's just that I haven't had much space on my camera and I don't do it, So sometimes I just jump on and... So let me just do a quick introduction, but let me have a quick drink. This is just water. I'm really, really thirsty today. Just getting over a cold, very minor one. That still knocks you out a little bit. Anyhow, I started this vlog / podcast. The idea behind it was to originally, kind of share my journey, my health journey. I deal with a variety of different chronic pain and itch, disorders and conditions, diseases, whatever you want to call them. I mean, I guess some of them are diseases, some of them are conditions, some of them are blah, blah, blah. And some of them are and there's also quite a plethora of different things that I suffer from. Suffer, that word is so much fun to say, but it plagued me that also are byproducts of medication that I have to take in order to, survive. Anyhow, originally that was the whole purpose, rant and rave a little bit about, Western medicine and some of my issues that I went through as a woman through the system and finding adequate health care and finding the right doctor and, just a variety of things. Well, in the process of me really trying to better my health and also was kind of hoping maybe I could connect with other people that are dealing with a lot of the same kind of issues that I am. We could share what works, what doesn't, share resources, maybe kind of garner a community around some of this, because it is a rare condition that one of the major ones I suffer from. I need to try to not use that word because it's such a bad word, right? When anyway, and language is so important. Using language is important, so I try to be careful about putting too much more negativity back into my body by saying certain words like that. Anyhow, in an effort to better my quality of life, one of the questions I've had a lot in my mind was, because I live in Denver, Colorado. It's the Mile High City. Actually, it's higher. I live on the west side, clear the west, on the west side of Denver, and where it's even higher up. And in the winters, it's brutally cold. So I deal with elevation, a lot of elevation, high elevation. I deal with bitter cold. We've had a lot of Arctic blasts in the last few years that we've never really had before. That, Colorado's never been that freaking cold. And so either it's... And I just don't tolerate it well at all. I don't mind the snow. And I really miss the Colorado winters that I grew up with. But it's also extremely, extremely dry here. And so I have traveled enough in my previous life that I knew how much humidity, how my body reacted to humidity. Humidity does the body a world of good, especially when you're aging. For your joints and muscles and your face and, your skin and wrinkles and stuff. But elevation too is a lot. There's a lot of pressure there, and I thought, okay, just I don't know if there's any conclusive studies out there that have been done to determine whether or not these things make a big difference in certain health conditions or not. But I'm pretty sure that there is. I just haven't found a lot of them. And in talking to my neurologist and a couple other doctors and nurses and different people, it is what it is. Whether or not there is any study that really inherently tells you yes or no. If you feel better, you feel better, even if it's all in your head, right? Because you just do what works. So I ended up going on a trip to Austin. It was my first trip after my surgery a few years ago, and then in pandemic and everything else, left my dogs home, and I picked up and left for Austin. And there was a few reasons why, aside from the health, but there was also a gentleman that I have known for many, 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 many years, good friend, that I hadn't seen for a few years, and things had been getting more and more friendly, and we talked quite a bit about it. It made more sense me going out there than him here. And I have seen him before. We've met. We've had encounters before. It's nothing like that. It's not like I found some crazy dude on the internet and just met up. Of course, maybe, I don't know. Maybe that would actually pan out better. Anyhow, I did go out there. I had rented a Verbo last minute because he had a new roommate and a dog he was a little concerned about whether or not it would get along with me. And then the more I started thinking about it, I thought, yeah, I don't, I want to be comfortable and I want to really enjoy my days. And I don't, even though I've been in his house and I've stayed in his house, so rented a Verbo, did not get a car, which was my downfall. Long story short, and you can go back and kind of look at it, things did not go well between him and I. I was doing okay, but he not so much on his part. So I kind of ended up having a little bit of a meltdown, kind of an emotional crisis there, because it was kind of like the last straw to a variety of things that, that I was going through. It had just come down off a really bad Christmas season or, holiday season with my family, which I'm not going to get into, but I just wanted a friend. I just wanted a companion. Maybe somebody I cuddled with on the couch. It's really all I was looking for. And I just did not have it just wasn't a good experience. And so then I kind of melt down for a while until I decided when I started feeling really, really low, like really down into a hole, to where I started thinking, like, what is my purpose? What am I doing here anymore? Like, how hard does this have to be? Just that I actually reached out to a crisis counselor to talk to, who helped me a lot. I suffer from major depression and anxiety. Kind of looking back throughout my life, it looks like I have been a very high-functioning anxiety kind of person most of my life. I've never really had any issues with learning struggles or but come to find out, much later in life, my dad had suffered a lot from dyslexia, and which had caused him a lot of issues, but he didn't know what it was for years and years, and yet I didn't get it. I didn't have those struggles. School was really easy for me. If anything, it was extremely boring, and that got me into a lot of trouble. And why am I telling you all this? It's just because when I started becoming ill and having a lot of struggle with a variety of different health issues, the anxiety started to kick in, and I didn't know what it was. The depression really kicked in, and all to the point to where, so I can't really say that I've had like an issue with depression all my life. However, looking back, I also can tell that all of those, the ground error were certainly there. I had quite a bit of troubles as a kid, because of a broken home and because of some abuse and a variety of other things in my as a child. So I definitely felt things extremely passionately. I was extremely intense kid, and a tough one. And when things didn't make sense, and I always very challenging, I would challenge the status quo. I challenged, had a big mouth. So I got into trouble a lot, and I also physically looked older than I ever should have at certain ages, which got me into another whole ball of wax for the good. What I thought would be the good for me as at times, but then other times, especially looking back at some other, was really a bad thing, and wasn't protected. So there's just a lot of things in my past that really, aid to this issue of an ongoing chronic, challenge of depression. And I also just always thought that anxiety was a panic, just panic attacks, or you had an anxiety attack, you're anxious. Well, when you look at the word anxious or anxiety, and you start to, I just took it literal for so many years until I had kids. And as my kids started becoming teenagers and even young adults, when they started to explain to me anxiety and what the definition of the mental health issue around, anxiety is, then I started to kind of really open up about, I think maybe I have that. And in fact, just recently I read an article in, Misty, please remember, wasn't the New Yorker, was it Forbes, New York Times or Forbes? It was one of one of those magazines that talked about this concept of high functioning anxiety and what that looks like in your job, and how it actually can really benefit you until it doesn't, and then everything crumbles. And that's really what happened to me. And then you've got that on top of, all of the health concerns and health struggles. But when you're dealing with chronic pain, which is what I ended up developing, chronic pain, and you're ending up having to take a variety of different medicines in order to combat that, to help it, you've got those side effects, and then you're taking medicine to help those side effects. And and you don't just have chronic pain, there's just so many things that are attached to that, like not sleeping well, and then you get chronic sleep issues, and that in and of itself, even without the background of, I was a pretty intense, difficult kid, probably was experiencing depression or anxiety, high functioning anxiety at work, maybe, okay, I was high functioning, certainly I'm not now. So my body took a lot of abuse, and my mind took a lot of abuse. I abused myself quite badly without knowing it. But that's what I kind of grew up with. Work hard, you'll get somewhere, you'll get that picket fence. And I may have barely gotten there. I may have gotten the picket fence and got the house and the car, but a lot of things suffered because of it. And one of the things that suffered was my body and my health, and real early as well. So this whole channel and this vlog, and when I started vlogging through Austin, when I was in Austin, it was just a way to get things out, whether anybody watched or not, mainly because I have a difficult time writing, doing journals, painting, doing anything like tactical like that to get everything out. The one thing I do that usually works is crochet. That's something that's always worked for me. I didn't do much of it during my career, but when I had to leave work because of my health, really picked it up, and it has been therapy for me. I mean, just literally therapy, and it works for a lot of people. Knitting also does too. So, but also I couldn't crochet. And then I felt very isolated. I didn't have a car. I didn't feel independent. I didn't have my dogs, and I was grieving so much because I wanted to be home with my dogs. At the end of the day, I'm really glad that I went through all that experience, because it taught me a lot of things about myself. One, that I wasn't as bad off in my emotional journey as I thought I was. I handled it healthy and smartly. I reached out for help where I had never done before, to somebody, just some stranger. I then reached out to a couple of my girlfriends that I had never really talked to in that kind of deep discussion before. And it made me also realize I have a couple people in my life that really love me and care about me. And one of my girlfriends called me every few hours just to check on me. Would text me or call me. And it wasn't, and I know that I probably really worried her. I know I did, and I still carry a lot of guilt about that. But at the same, not a lot, because I would do it for her in a heartbeat. And that's one of the things that I learned in therapy many years ago was that, Misty, they would always ask me, so what would you, if your daughter was going through this, what would you tell her? And we would play this role play game, kind of like, well, if your mother felt that, what would you say? Or if your friend so and so felt that. And I began to realize by having those conversations and kind of playing that role game, I began to realize that, ooh, I am my worst enemy. Am I? I hurt myself terribly because I won't let myself off the hook. I am terribly hard on myself. I call myself terrible names, and I started to realize that, I was not being kind to myself where I would with my kids or my friends. And so it's very difficult to switch that. And you would think, as intelligent as I am and as high functioning as I am, and in my head, I understood it all. And I can even tell you, and many times when I'm going through a lot of emotional crap or emotional baggage, I'll try to have that conversation with myself. And gosh, it's difficult. It's difficult. It's very, very difficult. So, that's kind of what I ended up doing is just vlogging a lot in Austin. And I also wanted to be raw and open. I wanted to finally let go of I'm not saying that I'm a vain individual, but I do like to look pretty. I like a lipstick. I like, some decent clothes. I need my nails done. There's just different things, I polished, I guess. But the last couple of years, I couldn't even fake it. I grew all of my dark, dark, dark hair out, went gray, and I'm so glad that I started the trend. I think pandemic did, but I'm glad everybody's embracing it. But some days I wake up with this and I'm like, even this bothers me. My eyebrows, and then now I'm starting to see how much I've aged over the last just few years, because of not taking care of myself, because of my diseases just ravaging my body, and how hard it is to combat that. So during this time in Austin, I also wanted, okay, don't worry about what you look like. Just put the camera in front of your face. Oh, you don't have your tripod. Don't care. You don't care. And it was kind of an experiment, and I never thought I would ever be able to do that. In fact, there was one I took of me, in the middle of the night, just looking like crap. Boy, I look back and I kind of, just looked really, really rough there, Misty. But it also shows not only the ravage of time and the ravage of age or time and disease, but it also kind of shows the ravage of no sleep, not being able to sleep, and just mental health in general, and how it changes physically what you look like. Because there's other times to where I'm no makeup, no this, no that, and the other, and I don't look that bad, not near as bad, So it's also kind of a testament to all the circumstances around that, It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever done this experiment for yourselves, but there'll be times to where you look in the mirror and you're like, yeah, you're looking pretty good. You haven't done a darn thing yet. And then there's other times exactly the same way, and you look like crap. A lot of it is internally. It's really the attitude, and it's the self-confidence, and that exudes, and it comes out and makes you pretty. It makes you approachable. But, when you're struggling, not so much. And maybe looking back at my times at school and as a young kid or college, or even in my career, that may have been one of the reasons why I wasn't as maybe approachable romantically, or friend, the inability maybe to find a really good friend, unless, because I struggled with that. But so with that with that said, I did. I vlogged all the time. I talked a lot about a little bit about what happened with my friend, and even picked myself up and said, hey, I'm going to try to be healthy about this. I'm going to call him out on it. I'm like, hey, let's be healthy. Let's do this different. Let's sit down and talk about it. Let's be adults here. Because usually he'll just ghost, right? He'll just, and I really thought that's what he was doing. Because he didn't even reach out to see if I was okay or anything. And he knew I was leaving at a particular time. Never even asked if he could take me to the airport or anything. Well, we had a big snowstorm in Colorado, so I couldn't come home. I ended up having to add a few days to my journey there. And we did end up meeting. He came over, tried talking. Mainly I did. He just sat there and drank and nodded his head. I don't think there was much of a in-depth conversation. I don't know if he ever talks to people like that. Honestly, I don't know. So I just told him, well, I said what I wanted to. I'm asking you what I want, and I left it at that. And he did ask if I needed help to the airport, but I had already got my Uber, and I'm struggling with being a lot more independent and never done that before, so I was glad I did. Made my way to the airport alone and made it home, and went through the struggles of being back home, feeling weird, and how all that kind of sometimes, if any of you have traveled, sometimes you go through this little band of time, energy, something that just makes you feel strange. And I was so glad to see my dogs. And so here I have been. And I have been trying to vlog as much as, but I just, I haven't been doing that well. So I started suffering from, I kept suffering from insomnia, severe, chronic, awful insomnia. And I have a lot most of my life, but at some point in my life I had figured it out. But the last year or so, the last few years, the doctors and I have just really tried everything. But it became really, really bad here to where I couldn't function much during the day, or the times I was awake. And that made me just frustrated and depressed and anxious. And I was trying to just let it all go. And I know that I've vlogged a couple days here and there, a couple crazy looking vlogs of one with me being on my back, just kind of holding the phone and like, oh, this sucks, kind of thing. And that looks pretty awful. And then my dog Motley being really worried about me one morning at like 5 in the morning, and I'm sitting on my chair, but then I kind of stopped vlogging, and only thing I could tell you is I felt like it just took so much energy to even hold the camera and talk into it. I didn't want all the sparking and noise in the background, so between my granddaughter, my dogs barking or eating their bones or something, it was always it was hard to find the quiet to just actually speak anyway. And then when I did have it, I was too tired and I was just kind of vegging. I was able to start crocheting a lot when I came home, so I've been crocheting like crazy and actually designing as well, which means that my creativity brain, my brain is still working and functioning. Several things have come back as far as things that didn't plague me near as bad there, plagued me here, and vice versa. It's kind of strange. It's a trade-off. Well, so we're at 23 minutes. I know that's, a big background on why I started this and vlogging a little bit what happened in Austin. But let me give you a quick update, and then I think what I'm going to do is this, so that being Sunday, and I'm alone, well, a little bit, I think my son-in-law's here, but I am not feeling the greatest, meaning my joints ache so bad today. I don't know, did any of you guys realize that when you look up the weather on your phone, to check to see what the current temperature is and what it's going to look like today or tomorrow, whatever, it also has this little health feature. It'll tell you like air quality and humidity and all those other things, which is great. It's great. But I also noticed that it has this little health thing which talks to you about, well, with your air quality, how bad the asthma is going to be. Yeah, and allergies all of that's in there, and I've known that before. It's just never been applicable to me. But there's one in there about arthritis pain, or arthritis, how bad of what's the environment going to do to your arthritis today. So I was really shocked, and I'm not quite sure what affects your arthritis, except for I know extreme cold or changes in the weather can, I guess, the barometric pressure. But there were some days in there that said high pain days for arthritis folks that I was really surprised about. But I know that it's been really nice here in Denver. The sun's out, it's gorgeous, it's warm in the sun. And I think we're hitting 55 maybe today. It's been in the mid 50s, which is great. It has gone down, but like 28, 30 at night. But we're hitting another cold spell again, and some more snow. We've had so much snow that I don't know if I'll ever see the bottom of my front yard. Anyway, I have a lot of aches and pains today, especially my wrists and my knees, and just walking has been difficult. And so I'm like, but I thought I'm bound determined to put on some lips, which I did. There's nothing else on, but put on some lips. Well, and I'm gonna put this new color on. It's really pretty. It's not a color I would normally grab, but I don't know. It suits the older me. You know, I don't know about you ladies, but when you change it, when you change your hair color, your coloring in your face changes, and I've always known that. And I've always had dark hair, and I always tried lighten it up, thin it up. You know, roots were always a big issue, so I always did highlights and lowlights and different things like that. But when I went all gray, and so I've got a lot of black still back here, like salt and pepper black, and then these little, bright white sections here. But it changes, what I look like. Of course, what I mean is it changes the coloring of your face, And so all of my makeup choices have had to change, and I've had to throw a lot out and try new colors. Like, I can't find foundation colors that work anymore. Things wear me out. And I've also thought, well, do I really want to use foundation anymore anyway? And but I don't know about you guys, but so even colors on my nails that used to work all the time, my tried and true color that I just would always go to just doesn't look good anymore. So it's been fun. It's been interesting now that I'm caring a little bit more about, like, oh, I think I'll grab a lip, or I'll grab this. I have gotten rid of so much stuff, which needed to happen anyway. You can't hold on to all of that stuff. I mean, I know that your skin's going to change. It's terribly dry. It's always dry. It's dry, dry, dry. And I used to be an oil slick. But yeah, I'm constantly putting on moisture, which is one of the things I did say when I was in Austin that I was going to do when I got back home, was get me some really good humidifiers, because I have humidifiers at home here with Cool Mist, but I've struggled with finding a good brand or a good model. Well, I found one, and I love it because it's cold and warm, and the warm humidity, especially during the winter, has really been a game changer. So I keep one on my bed, and I keep one by my chair downstairs when I crochet. And now I'm starting to build a jungle right next to my chair. So I'm moving all the house plants and moving it closer to my chair, where I've got some plant lights and then also this humidifier, and it's going all the time. And in the summer, of course, I won't have it on heat. I'll have it on the cool. But it's doing a great job. I wish it was bigger because it goes through a lot of water. Like, for instance, if I have it on high next to my bed throughout the night, and I actually fall asleep, which I have been the last few nights, it runs out before morning, and boo, yeah, this girl does not want to be woken up, does not want to wake up in the morning without that going, because of all the issues going on in my skull here. But